Bonjour everyone, and welcome back to Cooking with Daniella. For this week's episode, we're going to travel back in time to the year 1880. We're also going to go about 100 miles south of Paris, France. Now, what would be there that is so fascinating at this time? Well, I'll tell you. It's the Hotel Tatin. The Hotel Tatin invented this famous signature pastry dish called Tarte Tatin. Now, it was invented by two sisters, Caroline and Stephanie Tatin. Now, they were running a hotel, and they came by, and there were some unexpected guests that came in on one day. So they had nothing to serve them. So they decided, well, we have to do something to help them and give them some comfort food. So what they did, they made an apple tart. Now, remember, the year is 1880, so they had these really nice cast iron skillets, and then they had wooden ovens. So the temperature in there when you're making an apple tart would get really, really hot. So they put their apples, they put their butter, and they put their sugar in the skillet, and then they put it in the oven. Well, the apples caramelized so beautifully that when Stephanie went to go check on them, she realized, oh my goodness, I didn't put a pastry bottom on it. So she had to improvise. So what did she do? She put the pastry on top of the apples. So she put it back in the oven to cook, and then she took it out, and she realized that she had made it upside down. So she did what any innovative woman would do. She turned it around. So the dough was on the bottom, and these beautiful caramelized apples were on the top. So today we are going to try to replicate their wonderful Tarte Tatin. Ready? Let's get started. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to need about 2.5 pounds of apples. We have Honeycrisp apples here. We're going to need about a cup of butter, so we have 2 sticks of butter, and we have about 2/3 of a cup of sugar. We're going to make it at a low-medium heat. Now remember, we can't do exactly how they did it at that time because we don't have the appliances that they had. We have different stuff that we have to use to cook. So we're going to have to take things a little bit differently, and we're going to have to reinvent ourselves. So what we're going to do to try to reinvent this wonderful recipe, we're going to go ahead and caramelize and go ahead and have a caramel base on the bottom before we put it in the oven. So let's get started. Go ahead and put them in our heated pan. There we go. And now we have our sugar, and we're going to put our sugar in there once our butter is a little nice and softer. Now the trick to this is we need to have about the same amount of butter as we do sugar. So keep that in mind. I also want it really nice and bubbly. So let's go ahead and preheat our oven. So they used what we're assuming that they had. They had a oven, and then they had it wood fired. So we're going to try to do 180 degrees Celsius, and that's roughly about 356 degrees Fahrenheit. So for the top covering of the pastry, you can either use pre-made pastry or you can make your own. So I went ahead and made my own. I have it chilling in the refrigerator. And how I do it, since I halved the recipe that I usually use, I did 1.5 cups of flour. I did about half a cup of butter. I put in about 1 tablespoon of sugar. And I put a little bit of lime juice in there. And then I got it all nice and mixed together. And then I got some ice cold water. And I made it so that I made it to the consistency that I wanted it to. So just if you want to make your own dough, if you have your own dough recipe, go ahead and make it by all means. But if not, then just you can use pre-made dough, or you can do what I do and make it yourself. So our butter's heating up really nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and add in our 2/3 of a cup of sugar. So we're just going to wait for that to caramelize really, really nicely. You want to make sure that you don't burn the sugar while you're doing this. So you want to have the heat pretty low in order to get that perfect caramel. Alright guys, so our sugar and butter mixture is starting to bubble. So we should be getting really close. You want to make sure you keep a close eye on it so it doesn't burn. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys how it's starting to bubble. If you can see that, it's bubbling some. I don't want to tilt it too far. Otherwise it'll spill. But we're going to let it continue to caramelize a little bit longer. Of course, we want to keep our eyes really close on it so it doesn't burn. Alright guys, so we're here with the caramel. It's bubbling nicely, and we always want to make sure that we swirl it like this, and we never stir it. Alright guys, so we have our caramel done. We have a beautiful color right here. Beautiful, nice golden brown. We cannot put this pan in the oven, so what we're going to do, we're going to transfer our caramel to a oven-safe dish here. Alright. All of that caramel in there. And now, what we're going to do, we're going to put our apples in there. We're going to make like layers. We're going to try to make 2 to 3 layers of apple in here. So we want to make sure that they're fitting tightly. Alright guys, so here we have our apples layered on top. So we squish them down as far as possible to make sure that there is no gaps in between them. So let's go ahead and put this in the oven for about 30 minutes, okay? Alright guys, so as you can see, we took the tart out of the oven, so now we're going to go ahead and add our pastry on top. Alright, so as you can see, we have our pastry on top now. Now we're going to put it in the oven for about 15 minutes. We'll go ahead and check on it then, and we'll see if it's done by then. Alright guys, so we actually left our tart in there for about 30 minutes extra with the dough, for the dough to get all nice and cooked. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. Here it is. So now comes the more complicated part. Now we have to flip it so that we have the pastry on the bottom and the apples on top. So let's go ahead and try it. What we're going to do, we're going to put this bowl on top of here. Ready? We're going to flip. Oh my gosh, the smell coming off of this is absolutely delicious. So let's lift our base up, and we are left with the most incredible tart cake you could ever see. Alright, we're excited to dig in. Alright, so here we have it cut. I'm really excited to try this. Alright, ready? Magnifique! Alright, well, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. This has been Cooking with Daniella, and have a blessed day.